What is going on, guys? It is Wrestlelamia here, back with some more news. Join us now as we look at the wildest news stories and rumors you need to know, including WWE Disappointed, Theory gonna get an unsuccessful cash-in, a big AEW star returning soon, Goldberg wants a rematch, Seth Rollins apologizes to fans, and much more. Be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell for daily wrestling videos, and follow us on Facebook for exclusive lists. Also check out Wrestlelamia.co.uk and our wrestling channel, Incredible. And now let's hit the intro and get straight into our first story. Our first story looks at WWE Disappointed. A SummerSlam is just 9 days away, and yet there's a report coming in from WrestleVotes that there's dissatisfaction with the card. In the most WWE of ways, I had a source tell me this morning they really don't like the SummerSlam card, they being the people who put it together. The WWE already has 8 matches booked for the show, including 5 championship matches. So far, the IC Championship is the only title that's not being defended, as there's no surprise there, but it's likely at least 2 matches will be added since the WWE's Big 4 shows tend to run a little longer than its B shows. The 2022 SummerSlam has some big matches planned, but it's possible that people in creative are disappointed because the WWE was unable to book Randy Orton and Cody Rhodes at this year's biggest party of the summer. While these 2 major absences will be felt, the WWE seems to be making do with its available wrestlers. Next up, is Theory being set up to fail? Now, is Theory going to successfully cash in his Money in the Bank briefcase at SummerSlam? Well, Theory has made it clear that he wants to cash it in after Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns destroy each other during their last man standing match, but the WWE has thrown a wild card into the mix thanks to Dolph Ziggler's return and a mysterious mission to make Theory's life troublesome. The Madman Wrestling podcast Andrew Zarian reports that Cody Rhodes was originally going to win the briefcase, a story that's been disputed by other wrestling pundits, and that Theory won the briefcase in order to ensure Rhodes' path to glory after he returns from his current injury. Theory's going to win the US title again. He's going to beat Lashley. He'll cash it in, but he'll lose. So now remove the Go and Money in the Bank from everything, so you just remove the whole storyline. While this is possible, especially if the WWE is unhappy with the SummerSlam card and decides to change things, we recently discussed a scenario where Ziggler could repeatedly thwart Theory's cash-in attempts, leading to Theory cashing it in after WrestleMania 39. By then, Theory could be over enough that a world title win would be seen as well earned. At the same time, nothing should be ruled out, both due to Vince McMahon's habit of booking on the fly, but also due to the WWE's commitment to creating a megastar in Theory. There's no telling when the WWE will decide to put the title on him, and as incredible as it may seem, it could happen at SummerSlam. Next up, a big AEW star returning soon. Now, there's a major rumor that's concerning former AEW World Heavyweight Champion Kenny Omega, as Fightful Select is reporting that Omega could return at AEW's upcoming All Out pay-per-view. The Patreon site noted that while plans are tentative, the current direction seems to be teaming the cleaner with the Young Bucks as AEW finally unveils its long-rumored Trios titles. AEW fans expecting a Trios Championship were surprised when AEW introduced a singles belt instead, with its All-Atlantic Championship joining the AEW World Championship and the TNT Championship. But there are so many factions in AEW that a Trios Championship makes sense, especially since AEW books tag team matches as more than just a sideshow attraction. Teams like Adam Cole and Red Dragon, the House of Black, and Death Triangle are just some of the teams that could participate in the tournament. Would you guys like to see AEW unveil a Trios Championship, and if so, who should be its first champions? Next up, Goldberg wants a rematch. Bill Goldberg is a man who has accomplished many things in his wrestling career, but there's something he's still hungry for, a rematch with undisputed champion Roman Reigns. You may recall that Goldberg was scheduled to defend the Universal Championship against Roman Reigns at WrestleMania 36, but he wrestled Braun Strowman instead when Reigns reportedly bowed out due to safety concerns about COVID-19. Goldberg would finally get a shot against Reigns at 2022's Elimination Chamber event in Saudi Arabia, losing to the Tribal Chief by submission. Big Bad Bill recently discussed how the loss still bothers him and why he thinks it's important to get a rematch. It doesn't eat me by any stretch of the imagination, but it eats at me, 100%. Roman and I were on a collision course for a long period of time. It never happened when it would have been the best, but to say anyone that beats me doesn't deserve to have their ass kicked afterwards, I'd be a liar if I said anything other than that. Big Bad Bill told Bleacher Report that he was infected with the coronavirus when he accepted the match. Fans may also recall the match featured an odd segment where Reigns applied the guillotine choke on Goldberg and the Hall of Famer reaching the ring ropes, which should have forced a break. Although they didn't acknowledge this mistake by the referee, wrestling fans did, and this could lead to an angle where Goldberg demands a rematch. Despite Goldberg's rematch request, it seems unlikely he'll get one in light of Roman Reigns' new schedule where he rarely wrestles. Perhaps the best possibility for Goldberg vs Reigns 2 would be in Saudi Arabia, where Saudi officials look to book megastars like Goldberg to make their shows into WrestleMania caliber events. Now, we recently reported on how Goldberg is still under contract despite having fulfilled all the matches he was contractually obligated to work. Goldberg also said he knows the WWE could call him at any time, and he seems ready to answer the call. Do you think Goldberg should get another chance at Roman Reigns? If so, how would the WWE make it a worthwhile event? Should Goldberg even return to the ring for that matter? Let us know in the comments down below. Next up, Seth Rollins apologizes to the fans. Now, Seth Rollins is making a very public apology after being rude to fans who stopped the Black and Brave Wrestling Academy, the wrestling school Rollins operates in Davenport, Iowa. Rollins took to Instagram and issued an apology. "Today a couple of young cats saw my wife and me training in the back of the brick and mortar and stopped by to say hello. Unfortunately, I was right in the middle of a long workout. I was very harsh and abrupt in my candor. For that, I apologize. There's no excuse for that. If either you folks who I was short with today are reading this, please come back another time. I'd love to apologize in person. If I happen to be there, please just be conscious of what's going on around you. Don't be deterred if I'm teaching a class or deep in the sweat game. It may take a few extra minutes, but I promise I'm down to take a pic or have a quick chat." Rollins reminded fans they may have to wait, but he'll make sure to spend time with them. Interacting with wrestlers can be tricky as some fans don't know how to respect boundaries. For example, it's considered good etiquette not to bother wrestlers when they're in public dining, and some wrestlers expect privacy during their workouts. It's a tricky situation to be sure, and people don't always exercise common sense when they meet their favorites. Next up, NXT dropping its tag team championship. Is NXT 2.0 getting rid of its women's tag team championships? Well, fans tuning into this week's episode saw Cora Jade dump her NXT women's tag team championship belt in the trash. Another sign that a partnership with fellow tag team champion Roxanne Perez is finished. However, some fans are speculating it's a sign the WWE wants to ditch the titles altogether. Perez and Jade won the tag titles just a week before Jade turned heel on Perez during Roxanne's NXT Women's Championship match against Mandy Rose, costing Jade the win. There's speculation the WWE is going to end the tag belts rather than crown new champions. While that's a possibility, we think NXT had the two win the belts before their abrupt split just to shake things up. Either the WWE will hold a tournament to crown new tag team champions, or it'll restructure the main roster's women's tag titles by having them defend across all brands. NXT 2.0 has so many women on the roster that it needs another title to help create stars. But what's next for the women's tag championship, both in NXT and the main roster? And finally, did Bray Wyatt steal the Fiend gimmick? Last but not least, Bray Wyatt's Fiend gimmick helped revitalize his WWE career after his Wyatt family persona began to get stale, but did Wyatt come up with the idea on his own? You may recall WWE superstar Rory McAllister, i.e. one half of the tag team, the Highlanders. Rory appeared on Jofo in the ring, accusing Wyatt of pilfering a persona that Rory's tag partner Robbie McAllister came up with. That was Robbie's idea 100%, because he went over and worked in the UK and stuff, and he was dressed up the same way, looked the exact same. He went to WWE, and all of a sudden, after they told him not to go back, here comes Bray Wyatt doing Robbie's whole shtick. Now, as Sportskeeda mentioned, Wyatt had been accused in the past of appropriating ideas, as in 2020, Abraham Washington said Wyatt's newscaster segments were taken from YouTube videos he sent to WWE. Do you think they borrowed the idea, or did Wyatt concoct it on his own without knowledge of Robbie's gimmick? Let us know in the comments down below, and I'll see you next time with some more wrestling content.